What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. My name is Braden Carlson.
My name is Taylor Jesse.
My name is Shane, or as you might know me, Postart.
My name is Matthew, otherwise known as Macho Match.
And today we are, well, first of all, we're going to kind of catch up on what rocketry stuff each of us has going on, and then we've kind of pitched it to the folks on Patreon again as a sort of Q&A episode. So I think the pressing question on everyone's mind is, what is Macho Matt up to in the rocketry world? So we're going to go ahead and start with him.
Well, yeah. Just procuring some components right now. You know.
For the top secret Macho Matt project?
Yeah.
Is your Punisher done?
What?
Is your Punisher done?
No.
The dead silence is so good for podcast audio. People are going to hear that nod for miles.
Yeah. It's TBD. I mean, I just need to get going on again.
How long has it been TBD?
It's been TBD for about 6 months, probably.
And what stage is it at currently? Are we still at motor mount stage?
Yeah, we're at motor mountain stage.
Oh man,
Oh.
It's not that. It doesn't take that long to build a rocket, but here I am 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
that's
So
the
what are you
whole
doing?
point.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. It doesn't take that long, so we're gonna do it the week before. It's like it doesn't take that long. So if I do one small task a week, we'll say, then you could build a rocket in less than a month. Still,
The cold snap. That's what got me. That just really slowed everything down.
That's the best time there is.
The epoxy was just super. You know, it was like syrup. It just wouldn't work. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a couple more weeks.
The
I better
epoxy
wait till
that you
spring.
haven't touched?
Yeah.
You just assumed that it was not going to work. So
No,
yeah, that's
I
fine.
I
Wait
was-
it out a few months.
I was in survival mode, and I've survived. So now I can build a rocket.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear.
Actually, he did say his heat wasn't really working.
Yeah, my house is having a hard time staying above 60, but I still need to get that looked at. Yeah, it was. I'd wake up and it was 53 degrees. Now this is when it was below zero, like 10 below or something.
So
But-
you were good still. It's
Yeah, I know.
fine.
Yeah, you're right. I've
Just
survived.
10 layers on in the house.
Yeah, but that's what I've
All
been up
right,
to.
well, interesting. We'll get Matt back into rocketry someday. Someday. Sunday. You heard it here first, folks.
Man, you would think that after the big Punisher flight last April, he would have really had a fire built up, but it just, he's like, well, I don't have to do anything else now. That was not going to get any better than that.
Yeah. No, I'll make it happen.
We believe in you, Macho Matt.
Thank you.
We berate you because we love you.
Thank you.
And
Love you
now,
guys.
speaking of unfinished rockets, Postart, what are you up to these days?
I haven't touched a rocket in a week, or even seen one for that matter.
That's true. Postart's joining us from sunny Hawaii.
Yep. Hawaii,
Nobody's
for
gonna
those
know
who
which
don't
state I'm
understand
talking
what he's saying.
Yeah.
Iowa, Idaho.
Have you had any Hawaiian punch?
I have not.
What?
No. Unless
That
you want
one's
to count
out.
the ocean as that, then yeah.
Woof.
You drank the
Nah.
ocean?
The whole thing.
There's a,
Whoa.
man.
Dang.
There's a whole episode of It's Always Sunny where he talks about how you're not supposed to drink ocean. He and the waitress drank some ocean.
But I do have got a half, well, no, more than half finished. It's almost done rocket sitting at home. It just needs fillets and paint. But
Wait.
working on the video for that one.
I dropped it and
Punisher?
stepped on it. But yeah, that's
Oh, no, Pike.
Oh, I forgot you had that.
Yeah.
What does that one look like?
But you should start building the Punisher soon.
I should.
All right, well, Taylor, any updates? I know there are, actually.
It's been a grand rocket world here in Kansas City. People doubted it, but the Hercules is making a comeback.
What?
It's actually
There's
happening.
Progress has
pictures.
been made. Braden has picture proof. And if I wasn't going to hang out with Braden this weekend in California, I would have the booster done this week. Quite a bold statement, I know, but I finally have all the problems with the inner stage figured out.
We are the anti-gravity group, so we do have to take a rocket pause to ride roller coasters every once in a while.
It is an acceptable excuse to not be doing rocket stuff.
Why don't you take the Hercules with you to Braden's place and build it there? You know, he's been driving all these times out there to your place.
Yeah, I'll just take it on the airplane.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not 12 inches in diameter, but you know.
Yeah, just put it in a box. It only costs like $500 to ship it out here.
Dude, the fins are so big. Well, I guess the fins are okay, but like the massive tubes in the booster make the whole span like 3 feet.
Dang.
I didn't realize you were going with G10 for the fins.
Well, so I changed it. Originally, it was going to be plywood core, but I'm going to do scale fins at least on the booster. And so I ordered some Amazon G10. You can get 16th inch G10 squares for pretty reasonably priced.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the same price as Tim's, I think, except with free shipping.
Yeah, I think they might be in one of the Amazon links that I put in some videos. So I'll put that in this one. And if it's not in there, I'll make sure they get in there before I post the link. But yeah, somebody actually requested that we post the links to products that we're talking about and everything. So I'm trying to be better about doing that. It was the electronics one, which makes a lot of sense for people who are new to rocketry. Just like us saying a whole bunch of words that make no sense to anybody but people who know everything about them.
Let's just read off the links. How about that?
Yeah. https:// yeah, that sounds good.
Secure.
But yeah, I'm gonna do so 16th inch core, and then I'm gonna do the scale profiling with foam in the wire cutter.
Not gonna use your fancy new 3D printer?
Nah.
You could make some crazy accurate stuff. I kind of want to make some Honest John parts for my Honest John.
And well, I'm gonna do smoke. I'm gonna do scale details, but
D scales for those who don't have the time to say such things.
I still have it set up, and I need to. I already had like the plan on how I was gonna do at least the lower fins with foam. So I'm just gonna try that.
Sick. Yeah, you gotta get your auto leveler and the enclosure for that printer.
Yeah,
really maximize it.
I just keep forgetting. It's not super high on the priority list. At least I have it though.
Where's it at?
That's true.
It's in a box, right?
In your office,
a couple feet from me. Yeah.
Nice. It is kind of inconvenient to assemble in the first place, and like I wouldn't bother assembling it until you have the auto leveling kit because you just have to
which
take
is why I haven't
back
touched
part.
it.
But yeah, I also recently got a 3D printer upgrade courtesy of Great Western Buildings, and it's insane. Like watching it in person looks like a fake sped up video because it prints so fast. The primary reason for getting it was that it prints big. So now we can do like, I think the hypotenuse allows you to print like 16 inches across. So we could do 4-inch fin alignment guides. Just the entire reason that we got it. And I pitched it to Eric, the owner of the company that's doing this sponsored project with me that parts should be coming in for soon. But I was like, full transparency. Like this is something that I want either way. And it feels like cheeky to ask for it. But if you're down, and he was, so here we are. Nice. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time playing with that, to be honest, over the past couple of days. But as far as what I'm up to rocketry wise, I'm working on my Nike Smoke. Weather's not looking super promising for this weekend, and going to a rocket launch was kind of on the edge anyway in terms of scheduling, since Taylor and Sam are going to be here. But there was a little bit of lingering hope that I'd be able to fly that thing this weekend. It's mostly done. I just need to finish painting it, which I had a dumb mistake this morning when I woke up and I was like, okay, I have this meeting today, so I can go get this primed real quick, and then the primer will tack up and I can spray it black. Because I masked the fins last night. And so I was like, okay, I have like 10 minutes. I can do this, no problem. I ran out there. I've been heating up the cans of paint with a paint gun, which has been super nice. Or a heat gun, not a paint gun.
Paint gun.
And so I just started spraying the primer on, and like as I was looking at it, I was like, oh no, because I had such hard lines from masking the colors off, or masking the fins to spray the colors. I forgot that I was going to sand them, because last night my plan was to mask and sand that stuff out and then spray it in the morning. And then I was like, oh, I only have 10 minutes. I got to go spray this. And I started spraying it, and I was like, oh no, dude. So now I have to wait for that primer to dry enough to sand it, sand those down, and then reprime it, and then I can paint it black. But as far as things that could have gone bad, that's not the worst. There's also a little bit of crackling in one of the orange fins fillets. I don't really know how it happened or why, but I thought about using the that crack line to mask it off, but it was like so high up on the fin that it would have looked funky. So, it is what it is. It's not going to be perfect, but...
Brayden, you said there's cracking in your fillets? Is that what you're saying? Or crackling?
In the paint cracked, the orange separated, but it didn't do it anywhere else.
Okay.
Just in one of the fillets on one of the orange fins. So once I have it all done, I'm going to try and look at it and decide if it's something I actually really need to fix or not. Usually with these kind of situations, it results in me masking stuff and sanding and painting for another 3 days. But I just don't know if I have it in me after this. Like, I've been working on the video of finishing and painting this rocket for like 2 weeks now, because I just keep getting way too invested in making it look super nice. And I got to move on. I got to do the video with the Fluctus for Wildman, and that's the whole basis of that video relies on me having the Nike Smoke done so that I can put it in the electronics bay. So yeah, we're reaching tight deadlines. I don't know how fluorescent paint would do with like the old Q-tip dab it in there trick. It might just have to be a character flaw. My personal Mona Lisa, if you will. But then Taylor and I can do Nike Smoke drag races.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Sorry, a Nike Smoke versus an Ecoms Ekin.
Yeah, they're not the same thing.
I'd like to do that at Airfest.
We should do M Motors. Oh, I can't.
No,
watch it. Just for me being like that, mine's gonna shred the second I put an M in it.
Oh.
Taylor's has a 54 millimeter mount, not a 75, and yours is quarter fins, right?
Yeah,
mine's 3/8 with tip to tip, so I'm not worried about the fins failing. But I don't know. It seems like Mach 1.3 on M1297s, which is
we could do K555s, and mine could go a mile, and yours could go like 1,200 feet.
Mine already doesn't weigh as much as yours.
Yeah, I don't understand that. That's. I think
good,
once you
I don't know what to tell you.
Get shoots in there, it's gonna. Oh wait,
it's gonna beef up a little bit.
When I weighed mine the other day, it didn't have a main in it. I forgot. Or maybe I told you that.
Yeah, you did.
Don't know. Okay.
That seems like, because right now, even with all the electronics stuff except for the actual electronics in there, it's like 9.25 pounds. So I'm like, there's no way between shock cord and paint I'm finding another 4 pounds.
Depends on how much paint you put on it.
Yeah, I could definitely do it.
Yeah, you have done it.
I have a tendency to do such things. I think my 3-inch Punisher is realistically just that much heavier than yours because it has internal fillets.
No, it's the paint for sure.
There's a lot of paint.
There is a lot of paint.
Your 3 inches, that's the Dreamsicle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I painted it yellow before I painted it orange, and decided I didn't like the yellow, but I didn't want to sand it all off, so I painted orange on top of the yellow.
That's probably one of the nicest finishes I've seen on a rocket.
Thank you, Matt.
I think. I mean, it like almost auto quality.
It's because there's a 1/4 inch of paint.
Yeah, and that one, honestly, the 4-inch Punishers on a technical level was better because it was like cut and buffed and leveled and everything.
But now it's in the ground, so
yeah. And I really didn't like the paint color after like a month. For some reason, I was just like, I kind of hate this paint job now. So I have my 3-inch minimum diameter rocket's going to have a pretty wild paint job on it because I'm not building it explicitly for high altitude. I'm mostly building it as a test bed to make sure I can actually deploy recovery gear on a high altitude flight in preparation for another one. So I'm going to paint it like glitter silver, completely just bass boat amount of metal flake.
Bass boat, yeah.
It's going to be
are you putting
what the
GPS
kids are calling
in it?
dumb lit. Yeah.
Dude.
Oh.
Can't that mess up your GPS?
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe. I don't know.
I thought that's what the people say. I don't know. I'm not a GPS guy, but
I mean, people
you can
also
find
say
out.
not to put it in electronics bay with all thread running up and down it, and people do that like every single launch throughout the entire world.
yeah.
People also
make a
lose
good
signal
point.
a lot and don't get it back. But we don't need to discuss these equivalencies.
Yeah, that's probably none of that's probably have any correlation, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna have RDF backup. So if the GPS fails, like GPS tends to sometimes, I'll still have a tracker so long as it, deploys recovery gear. So that's what I'm working on. But
I also have been working on I haven't actually actively started on it, but I test fit all the stuff on my Mad Cow 2.6 Nike Smoke.
oh, I thought you were gonna say the Beaumark.
No, I'm still not going to touch that for a while.
I was like, the Hercules and the Beaumark at once. This man's
dude,
lost
there's not enough
it.
brain power or time to do the Herc and the Beaumark at the same time.
When have you been doing the Beaumark? I haven't heard of that.
I bought it on when Mad Cow had a sale over a year ago. I'm not even sure when that was.
I think it was the COVID panic sale, wasn't it, in 2020? That's when I bought my Little John.
That's is it? That's
my
long
Little John
ago.
that's built and has flown. Just saying.
Yeah, man, it's just been sitting in the package on that white folding table for apparently years now.
Wow.
Screaming, just like, build me. But Taylor's like, no, I'm scared.
I've seen that.
Wait, and I haven't even opened the package, so.
All right, well, I guess we'll just on that happy note, we'll just move on to the mailbag segment. So, like I said, I put the call out for discussion topics, questions, or general beratement of how the podcast is run, and we received some feedback, and well, not feedback, some input, I'll say. But yeah, so I guess anybody have anything else to add, or should we jump in?
Let's go for it.
Let's hop in the bag.
All right, Jeremy Sim opens us up with, what is your biggest rocketry regret? That is a tough one.
It's easy for me.
I mean,
oh yeah, hit it, Matt. Tell us what's up.
9-volt battery. Should have put some freshies in the altimeter.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, that gives me mine as well. On both my Nike Smoke Level 1 attempt and my 3-inch Punisher or 4-inch Punisher on the M2050. I regret not taking the rockets back when only one altimeter was. Oh, well, I guess the Nike Smoke, I consciously chose to fly it on one altimeter. I just was stupid and didn't take the second one out because it would have taken several minutes. And who's got that kind of time? But the 3-inch Punisher, yeah, I was getting main continuity only on one of the altimeters on a rocket going 20,000 feet, and it was like, the one drogue charge should do it. And yeah, incidentally, it didn't. So I did have a chance to alleviate that regret, though, when I had the same thing happen with the V2 at Midwest Power, and we lugged my 60-pound 8-inch rocket all the way back to the flight line. Mind you, with Tim Lair of Wildman Rocketry on the microphone, berating me the entire time for it.
I love that.
But
yeah.
That thing was wildly heavy, and I was like, I'm not dumping this on a flight line full of people. That's what Taylor's supposed to do with his mini mag and a rail.
I would like to point out, still not my fault, but
Yep. If you're unfamiliar with that story, go check out our podcast on our failures in high powered rocketry. Taylor discusses that incident.
My biggest regret similarly would be, well, I don't know if it's the biggest. One of them would be my Nike Smoke in 2010 at Lucerne on the K700, when one of my altimeters showed main only, or I guess beeped main only, and I decided, I looked at my brother and was like, that'll probably be fine. And it was in fact not fine. I had the whole, except I got main on the way down.
Recurring theme. Yeah, that's impressive, especially with a Nike Smoke nose cone. There's a lot of drag pushing against the tube. The same thing just happened to that guy that flew like 7 800s in his at Rockstock. No drogue charge, but the main still separated it. I was like, how is that possible?
But I think it's impressive that like gel coat nose cone didn't completely disintegrate. I mean, there was kind of a streamer of sorts left after the main blew itself apart, but the rocket turned into a D-shaped thing, just splatted on the lake bed.
Yeah, my nose cone definitely disintegrated when mine came in ballistic. It turned into gel coat confetti.
Otherwise, maybe putting the tiny shot cord in my last 3-inch minimum diameter rocket.
Again, revisit the Fails podcast if you're interested in the details on that story.
Otherwise, I'm not really. I don't know that I have another big regret.
I don't think I have any like physical ones, but it's really just falling out of the hobby for like 4 or 5 years when I was younger.
I mean, I basically did too, pretty much right up until LDRS 38. I've been doing it a long time, but I was so wrapped up in my car YouTube channel and trying to build out this career path that I pretty much didn't touch rockets for like 4 years. I bought some every once in a while and started building them and just kind of let stuff sit. But yeah, needless to say, I think I've made up for that little break there. If I could throw another regret out, I would say, I mean, it wasn't by choice, but not buying more like Polecat kits when they were around. It wasn't really fiscally an option, but man, I want the 10-inch Fat Man so bad. I wanted to do my level 3 on that thing when I was like 16. I was planning on trying to use the same rocket for all 3 certs, because if you lug that thing on an i600, it'll do it. It would be dumb, but it'll do it. I think it still simmed to like 1,000 feet.
Yeah. I remember Andy, like when Andy originally made the website on those, when he wrote up the cards for the kits and stuff, it would just be like fly on I through M or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like,
if
you build it right, technically you can.
Challenge accepted. Yeah, that's we've talked about it on the podcast before. Polecat is a out of production kit manufacturer who I've been in contact with the new owner, who was posting on Instagram about relaunching the kits and just kind of disappeared. I've messaged him a couple times and haven't heard back, so maybe we'll get him back, maybe we won't. All right, well,
yeah, I would say I regret buying like Polecat kits, but there was never a point where I was like on the edge of buying one. So I guess just in hindsight, I like wish I would have got a Skeeter or a big Hawk missile.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the edge of buying one of those forever, but I just never had any money. Me and my dad wanted one super bad, and hopefully if they do come back, they're at a similar price point. But I was also thinking about this 3D printer that I have now is just big enough to print nose cones, like 5.5-inch mosquito nose cones, and maybe without the shoulder, 7.5-inch, like my Fat Boy nose cone. So I was kind of thinking about digging into that a little bit and seeing how PETG or ABS holds up for using the heat. We know how PLA does. Ask Taylor about his SBR Thor.
Yeah, it was awesome. If you
the coupler
like
melted,
things shrinking a quarter inch.
Yeah, it shrunk to the point where it's like completely useless. Okay, well, we're moving on. UPS Rocket Man says, "Love the podcast, guys, especially when you go live and don't know it. I checked. We are not live this time." My God,
Matt, we did it again.
Yeah,
by the way.
It was really funny because Joe was in the chat. Because I had told him about it in person, and he's like, "That's like my worst nightmare." And then when we did the secondary live stream afterwards, he's like, "No way, you did this on accident twice, right?" I was like, "I know, I'm stupid," but it's a whole thing. But anyway,
That's fun.
I'd be interested in hearing the more unconventional building and deployment techniques you've used and how they worked. Electronics hatches, line cutters, etc. I think Taylor's a good person to talk about that because my only line cutter flight is also in the ground somewhere with the rest of my 4.5 inch arches.
It's hard to, those techniques I would say are hard to describe on a podcast, but I don't know. I mean, I used a line cutter on my previous minimum diameter rocket and it worked well, but I'm kind of curious how other people do it. I had mine like it was set up kind of zipperless, I guess, and then I had the line cutter basically right, like the chute bundle was right down by the bulkhead there, so there wasn't like a big E-match flopping around. I'm curious if anyone does that. I feel like it would be kind of get tangled up and stuff, but I'm sure it's possible.
Right. And that's what I'm planning on doing with my 3-inch rocket is a line cutter with basically the same setup. Everything's going to come from one separation point. Julian, I think his name's Julian Rice. He just built and flew a liquid rocket at FAR. And he used a line cutter setup, and yeah, that's exactly how his was. The main parachute was attached like directly to the bulkhead, so he had a big shock cord with the drogue, and then when the line cutter fired, it just was hanging.
So he did have a drogue?
Yeah,
that's what I've been trying to decide on the new rocket I'm building. I feel like even if I just put like a 9-inch top flight, it would be enough.
I was gonna say drogeless with 3-inch case weight trailing it down seems like a bad call. If it's just
even on my other one, I had a little drogue. So I was just like, if you were able to have your chute bundled like toward the other end of the shock cord, so it was producing some drag, I would feel better about it. But
yeah, I feel like that would be a good case for potentially streamlining and getting moving pretty quick to fly drogeless. I mean,
yeah.
Other than that, I don't think really any of us have done any super unconventional recovery stuff.
Just deployment bag stuff. But once you learn how deployment bags work, it's really not that complex. It's just you do kind of have to lay it out. Like when the way we set up the Arcus, it's really not that complicated, but it's like everything has like a way that it gets packed, I guess.
Yeah, if you watch that video back and like you don't have the context that we have on the recovery setup, it's probably like, what, this is the stupidest, most overcomplicated thing on the planet. And we're like, yeah, here's this and this and this and this, and people are like, why is there two main chutes? What is why is this like this?
Because we have 2 chutes that would be the correct provide the correct descent rate, I guess.
And big parachutes are wildly expensive.
Mm-hmm. And we thought it would look cool.
And it did.
It does.
It did.
All right. That's pretty much all we got for you there. Dylan Bender says, how about inviting Joe Barnard to be a guest on the podcast, or Tim Miller? I have fantastic news. Next week, Mr. Joe Barnard of BPS Space is joining us. And we're actually doing a pretty cool little open rocket contest. So we'll talk about more later. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Have you guys worked on your designs at all yet?
No.
Nope.
Mine's dialed, dude. Matt, are you joining us next week?
I should probably build a Punisher before I do anything other, any other projects.
So Matt's saying he's not coming back on the podcast till his Punisher's done.
Probably.
No, I think we're not building rockets. We're just designing them in the simulator and seeing who's the highest
as a game.
Yeah,
as like a challenge.
Okay, but then maybe, yeah.
All right, we'll explain the details to you afterwards. But yeah, Joe Barnett and then Tim, I think would be super fun to have on, but right now they are just like unbelievably slammed still from the holiday sale. So I don't think he or Jackie or anybody that works at the old Wild Man camp has much free time right now. But eventually, I would like to do that. I've also reached out to
in the spring, maybe.
Yeah, Jay and Dave from Lock Precision and PML would be awesome as well.
Yeah,
I reached out to Jay. He said they're down. Sean Cooper says, I really don't know anything about Cosden, Dr. Rocket, Aerotech, CTI, shared case designs, crossloads, etc. I know we've spoken briefly about some of the crossload stuff, but a history of the rest of that and a discussion on some of the crossloads you've used in the past would probably benefit most of the listeners. The Cosden stuff is not like super worth going into. Frank Cosden was his own manufacturer, and towards the end of the game, Aerotech started producing Cosden by Aerotech motors, which were Aerotech propellants and loads made to fit Cosden cases. But
there's a way that you could make a tree, which we're not going to do, but basically you had for stuff that's relevant in the modern world, you had Aerotech and you had Cosden, right?
Right.
And then like CTI came around and they specifically made their 75s and 98s to match the Aerotech design, because Aerotech had the 2001 fire and weren't able to produce reloads. So they certified their reloads to be cross-compatible with Aerotech hardware.
Which is an interesting thing to note,
98.
because like a lot of people don't even realize that you can fly CTI motors in Aerotech hardware or vice versa. But not a lot of people know that CTI motors were like initially designed specifically to fit Aerotech hardware.
Yeah.
They're bigger stuff.
Yeah,
anyway. Pro 38 was out for a while.
And then basically all the snap ring hardware, although some of it is different now because it's whatever, but it all stemmed from the Cosden stuff, right?
Right. So Frank Cosden,
kind of the standard sizes that everyone kind of uses.
Paul Robinson, founder of Animal Motor Works, used to work for Frank Cosden or with Frank Cosden before AMW was Cosden East, and then they kind of separated, became AMW. And AMW got bought out. I don't know fully, largely. I don't know the whole details, but CTI absorbed AMW to some extent. And that's why CTI skid marks are a thing. Another thing that a lot of modern rocket people don't realize is that AMW was the original skid mark. And that merger is what led to CTI using the name skid mark and starting to produce Sparkies. And they're not as good, I'll tell you that much. We have some OG skid marks to fly, though, so we'll get the best video and audio quality we can on these things. So if you can't see them in person, we can at least try to convey it a little bit. But right now, go look up videos of the AMW M2200 skid mark. It's gnarly. But yeah, so anyway, the Cosden by Aerotech stuff, like the motors are still floating around out there, but the hardware hasn't been produced in so long. It's not something that people just have sitting around. But as far as
for modern relevancy, basically you have AT or Aerotech and CTI 75 and 98s are cross compatible for the most part. There's some stuff with like this big nozzle CTI 98s and stuff that don't work in Aerotech and vice versa. Probably, I'm not sure, but
which is really
most
sad
of them are cross compatible and
Oh,
certified to use. So
yeah, I want to fly in 5600 so bad, but I would have to buy a 6-grain CTI case, and the motor's already wildly expensive. And I don't know that I have a rocket I would put it in that I think would survive it right now. So
V2.
Oh my god, that might actually kill it. I
No,
don't.
It would take it.
You think so?
I think it'd be all right.
Dude, we did the come along.
if somebody wants to sponsor the N5600 flight going to the V2, it might be the end of the V2, but we could certainly try. But yeah, and then touching on Dr. Rocket a little bit, it was just certified Aerotech hardware. It's Aerotech hardware that was manufactured by somebody else. Same with Roustech, Monster Motors, the blue hardware. It was just like not certified is not the word that I'm trying to
it's
think
licensed.
Of. Licensed. That's what it is. Yeah.
Basically, third-party manufacturers that were given the specs and they're made to that spec within tolerance exactly, and Aerotech gives them the stamp of approval, and that's how that worked. And for a long time, that was like basically Aerotech wasn't really making much hardware,
right?
And I think that was sort of their answer for we don't need to figure out how to have full production numbers and making our own hardware, and so they had people that wanted to do it.
When I bought my first brand new case, it was a Roustech case because you couldn't get Aerotech black hardware at the time. Which is interesting because for that reason, because it was something you couldn't get, I was like, oh, the black hardware is cool. I want it. And now it's completely the opposite where everybody wants the colored hardware that you can't get anymore. So digging into the Dr. Rocket stuff a little bit more, he did a lot of special edition anodizing. You could get the Desert Fire hardware, which was the orange and red splash anodize. I have a good bit of that. You can see it kicking around in some of my videos and stuff. The more desirable one, in my own opinion, is the Millennium Edition, which is blue and purple splash anodized. I have a good amount of that as well.
This is the part of the podcast where Braden drops hints at all of the hardware he has,
and then
and flexes on all of us.
There's some interesting ones in there too. There's he did for LDR 17, he did emerald green. I have one of those. And then he also did he did cases that were just anodized blue. They look like Roustech cases.
Yeah, but you don't have any of those.
I didn't realize it was a thing, Taylor, I was about to say, until I had one and was like, oh, what is this little gem? Like, I just have this hardware. I don't even know what it is. I just have all this cool stuff. But
you had one of those?
I still do.
A blue one?
He does.
Yeah, I think it's 29-180 or 240. I don't know. I just have so many cases, Yeah, actually, Chase makes my hardware stash look abysmal. He has got so much stuff.
You know what I don't have?
What?
A second 75-38-40.
Oh, what happened to it?
Yeah, where's it at?
Someone put it in the ground in Argonia.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Oh, okay. That's actually been a recurring weekly segment now, Matt, where we ask Taylor every week if his case has been replaced.
Maybe we should start something that, just guess where it's at. Oh, maybe I left it at Brahms in the bathroom.
That seems, honestly, if not for the fact that we know where it's at, would be pretty reasonable to assume.
Yeah, if you had borrowed it and not put it in a rocket, that would be completely plausible.
Yeah,
probably.
Or the Whataburger.
Yeah,
but last time we live streamed, there was a couple of people that came in the chat and were just like, "I'm here for an update on if Matt has replaced Taylor's 3840 yet."
It's fully memed out. There's also somebody building a Macho Matt rocket. It's awesome, dude.
I've heard.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel, Matt, to know that someone's making a meme rocket? About you, the meme of Macho Matt.
I'll just say I'm honored that I'm that big of a deal to someone out there. Thank you.
That's nice of you, Matt.
Thank you.
Well, one last thing I guess I should say about this special hardware is that it was really cool. The main reason I wanted it all was because I couldn't go to these launches when I was younger, and a lot of them were special editions produced specifically for launches. And Aerotech has been doing it lately. They made some special for LDRS 38, and then for LDRS 40, the cases were black and just said LDRS 40 on the side. But last year, LDRS 41, if you're watching the video, Taylor's holding one up right now, they did yellow and green splash anodized cases. And I was not I didn't set aside any money or plan to buy any hardware LDRS.
I did not
As soon as I
either.
saw it, I bought it. So Gary or anybody at Aerotech, if you are listening, hi Joe. Joe actually probably is listening. Pass the message along. As long as those keep coming out, you can count on me to pull out the credit card and get stupid and buy duplicates of cases I already have several of because they're pretty fun colors. I do want to make a quick call to action for anybody that has special hardware, though. Fly it. It's rocket motor hardware. Put a motor in it and fly it. You can't just let it sit around. It's worthless to anybody that's not in the rocketry world. Collecting it without using it is dumb. I'll say it. Set it on the record. I flew my LDRS case at Airfest. Anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty much up to speed. Crossload stuff that we've flown. I've only done the M1675 as far as crossload stuff. Taylor's done like all of it.
A lot of 75s, yeah. Pretty much, not all of them, but a lot of 4 grains, couple 6 grains.
His favorite being the M3700.
It was so cool.
Oh, yeah. I did that one too. It was awesome. It was
all
a
right,
rapid disassembly. Anyway.
Eric Beaver says, I think I already know the answer, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on internal fillets, particularly with fiberglass. I'll be honest, now I'm against them. I'm officially coming out and saying it. If you can make a rocket survive going Mach 4 or higher with surface mounted and just fillets, I see no reason for internal fillets to be there. I didn't used to build any of my rockets with internal fillets. All of my rockets that now have broken fins that have internal fillets are going to be a nightmare to repair because the internal fillets are still stuck to the fin. So I'm going to have to cut a big hole in the side of it to get them out. And clearly they didn't save it from impact on the ground, breaking them off, which was really my only thinking for doing them. Now, my 4-inch Punisher, there is a video of me hitting the fin with a sledgehammer and then standing on it on concrete. And I don't know if I would have done that without the carbon injected internal fillets. But we've already gone down the rabbit hole a little bit about how I don't think the carbon fiber is actually doing anything more than any other filler would, because it's not like continuously intertwined like carbon fiber works in the first place.
Yeah, the fibers aren't direct in the right directions. They need
But
to
they look cool.
Well, carbon fiber looks cool. Yeah, honestly, though, it is kind of fun when you get like a really nice one, you shine the flashlight through it. It is super gratifying. And I've been talking to Tim about doing a video about injected internal fillets. I have no problems with people doing them, but I'm saying moving forward, probably not going to do it. But yeah, it's I actually designed the 3D printed mold I was going to make for the epoxy and filler comparison video. I'm not like we're going to have a ton of free time while you're here, Taylor, but we could do that. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I have to order a dynamometer, though, so we can pull on them and break them. And I'm afraid the ones on Amazon, they're like $40. Only go to like 100 pounds, so I don't think that's enough to break it.
Yeah.
And then going up, the price goes from like 50 to 500 to go to a nicer one. So that's why that video is dead in the water for now. Yeah, I don't know. Matt, what's your take on internal fillets?
I've only ever done them once, and that was on the Demon, and it's in the ground. So
But it probably didn't break the fins, though.
Probably not. I mean, it was a pain trying to get in there. So, I mean, I think what you're saying, Braden, makes sense, especially if you had surface mounted fins and nothing really broke, you know? Can you hear me?
There we go.
Hello.
Yeah, I feel like the JB Weld rocket really finally convinced me because those fins are on there, man. Every time I go in the garage, I grab them and like wiggle them around and they don't come off. So, yeah, I was wondering, because your mind is moldable and impressionable in the rocketry world since you're still pretty fresh. So
yeah,
I was wondering where you're standing on that at this point, since Taylor and I kind of fought about it for a long time, and I finally bought Taylor's Kool-Aid is a saying that people say for sure.
Can we talk about, okay, one thing I think we should bring up, a Kool-Aid to buy. What about Quick Links?
Dude, I loved quick links in the first place. But now I've like gone out, like all my parachutes get their own quick link, and just like everything is going to take me 3 seconds to assemble forever. Yeah.
It's just a chain of quick links.
Yeah.
No, I will say I love the parachute on a quick link, but I never have enough of them. It's like they just disappear forever. But I'm trying this new thing where I take all of my parachutes and put them in a box. I got a clear tote like Postart has because I really like his clear totes that you can see inside of. And I'm going to try to put a quick link on each parachute and then store them in there, since I use parachutes for multiple rockets and I don't have to play the which parachute is the rocket in game. Or sorry, which rocket is the parachute? Wait.
I like that.
Which rocket?
No, you're on the right track on the second one. Yeah. I just bought a ton of parachutes, and we had like a drawer in our rocket room that was for recovery gear, but like now we got to figure
the rocket.
We got to
reorganize.
Room. Yeah, exactly. We got to reorganize that entire room, and there's just no way all the parachutes are going in that drawer now. The thing is, it'll weigh like 50 pounds, and it'll never open once the parachutes expand a little bit. But Matt, you were going to correct yourself. Not quick links, I assume.
Yeah. I was selling the wrong Kool-Aid. Please accept my apologies. What I meant to try to sell you on is swivels.
Oh yeah, I'm in on those now too.
That's what I wanted to open up that.
That was maybe the weirdest thing about Braden when we met is when I found out that he just did like an overhand knot on his sky angles instead of using the swivel because he felt that the swivels were like, guys, don't trust those things.
They're tiny. They're little tiny pieces of metal. And I'm like, if you get a rough opening, like what's going to happen? But yeah, I'm when you were like, dude, think about all the huge projects that have used these parachutes and nobody has ever said anything about having a problem with one. I was like, I guess you're right. So yeah, no, long story short, I'm going to order about 500 swivels and all of my parachutes are going to be quick lunked and swaved, if you will.
I'm not I don't think I've ever put a swivel on anything that short of like a parachute that comes with one, like a sky angle. I'm not one of those guys that puts like the swivels on his bulkheads and stuff. Not that I'm against it, but I'm not that serious.
I'm going to swivel everything, dude. Both ends of every shock cord. Parachutes.
Oh, God.
Nothing's going to be tangled anymore. The shock cord's going to be perfectly flat.
I'm going to put swivels on my swivels.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
Dude.
That way, if one gets a little bound up, no problem. Swivel it out. It's going to be all good.
That's right.
Wow. That sounds efficient.
I'm going to put sealed bearings on my bulk plates.
Max says, whether or not you want to do it, what do you think more folks should be trying out in rocketry?
Cluster
Big stuff.
Yeah. I'm going to go with clusters, but we have another one right after this. Actually, can I revisit
I mean, I don't think everyone should be
No, yeah, that's
trying cluster stuff, just to be clear. But I think more people should. It's easy to go, well, why don't I just buy the N? Well, it's like, I don't know. Why don't you do a few L's together?
One thing that everyone should try is a nice, simple electronics bay. I feel like a lot of people just dive way into making incredibly complex stuff. And like, that's probably just me projecting my disinterest in it. But like, electrical engineers and everything are probably having the greatest time of the entire rocket build making these crazy electronic space.
Well, but there's also like the pretengineers.
That's what we are. To the point though that we're
not pretending to be engineers. We're
that's
just
not in this particular case.
Plus Matt. Yeah.
When we start talking about fin flutter and foam core fins on the Punisher, and we're like, it'll be fine. Look, this is the divergent speed and blah blah blah. That's when we're pretengineering, and then we just kept throwing more composite at because we were like, wow, that seems bendy.
Yeah, but we're also the first to admit that we're just winging it. Also, it's not like we're trying to make it complicated for the sake of being complicated.
The crazy part is Matt is the actual engineer of this group, and he used Connects to build an electronics bay.
There's an asterisk next to Matt is the real engineer in this group.
Yeah.
I wanted to step back to the internal fillets thing real quick because a lot of people have been using these epoxy dams and like just injecting their fin cans entirely full of epoxy.
Wow.
What
or
are
expanding
you doing?
foam.
The expanding foam thing I get. If you're just gonna do like a CA tack together, fill it with foam thing like Crazy Jim used to do with tiny rockets, that's one thing. Expanding foam's heavy, but it's not as heavy as
Also,
18 ounces of epoxy.
You can get different densities of foam too. So like,
Yeah, but a lot of people
if
like
you're using 2-pound foam or whatever, it's whatever. But anyway,
I said this to somebody on Facebook, and they're like, "Whoa, what's wrong with epoxy dams?" I'm like, there's nothing wrong inherently with using the dams. The problem lies in the fact that people are injecting so much epoxy that they're filling it all the way from the motor tube to the airframe tube, completely
Solid.
between the fins. And I'm like, this is so much weight at the worst part of the rocket to add a bunch of weight to. So it's a weird juxtaposition for me to be like, maybe internal fillets aren't necessary, and slowly going down that path. While other people are like, I have to use this entire bottle of West Systems G5 to inject these fillets.
well, I've also
That way
seen
it's
some
strong.
people where they do the epoxy dams and they like, I guess, seal it all with CA or something, but they're just putting in like unthickened epoxy.
Yeah, I know we're not going to name any specific builds, but there is one that there's been a lot of pictures posted of on Facebook over the past handful of months that is being very well built and very meticulously built, but the whole thing is just filled. The entire fin can is filled with like unthickened West Systems, like dams between the fins and centering rings, and there's a few sets of centering rings, and it is just completely filled, like poured epoxy that's like probably over an inch thick.
Besides being heavy, the main problem I have with that is, like
stability.
Well, yeah, but I mean, unthickened West Systems is brittle.
Yeah.
I mean, not that thickened West Systems isn't brittle, I guess, but
it is. I mean, it is going to add strength. Like I'm not.
It will, yeah.
I don't.
But
think
I feel like there becomes a point where it's like on fillets and stuff, like it's not like the surface area to where it's bonding is helping, but like the thickness of the epoxy, like the amount of epoxy you use, isn't necessarily gonna help past a certain point.
Right. Yeah, I just that's kind of where I was going with that. It's like if you want to add a ton of weight to your rocket and you're going to balance it out, that's one thing, I guess. But like, there's got to be a pretty substantial early breakover for diminishing returns on just doing regular fillets versus filling the entire fin can with epoxy. So I strongly advise that you don't do that. That's all I have to say about that. We're going to move on. Our friend Alex says, idea for a topic of discussion. What do you guys wish you saw more people doing in rocketry? It could be something that was popular at one point that you think needs a resurgence, or something new and exciting that you think more people should be doing. And my answer in this case, yes, is big rocket projects.
Big rockets.
We grew up on watching these massive rockets. Like every LDRS, there was a build thread on the rocketry forum for giant project flying on O or P motor, like balls level projects that were being brought to LDRS every year. And I mean, Taylor was he's been going to Argonia for what, 18 years now or something like that.
This will be 21.
There you go. So like Airfest, even on all these years that weren't like super publicized or covered, was there always just huge projects still? It was just the thing to do.
Yeah.
And I love the high altitude stuff, and that's like what everybody's doing right now. And I think it's largely because of the ease of accessibility to composites and like the ability to see what other people are doing now, and people are sharing all this information and making it so much more accessible. Like,
and
Jim Jarvis.
The same reason that when I was younger, I still am into it, but like there's a thrill involved with like high altitude stuff.
Yeah, it's super addicting. I mean, even though you keep putting rockets in the ground, you're like, but I think,
yeah,
think next time
it's just like you have this urge to like beat your own like personal best, and just there's something about flying something that high whatever is high to you, it doesn't really matter. And just going, wow, I was able to get that back. And that's pretty cool. But on the other hand, after flying a like 200-pound rocket, like the thrill from that is like unmatched.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
also way more expensive.
Really expensive.
Yeah.
But like Jim Jarvis was, like we've talked about on the podcast before, his level 3 where he did a minimum diameter and 4,000 to 40,000 feet, which was like unheard of at the time. Was it 2003 in Texas?
Or
2005. Yeah. But he, like, I grew up rereading over and over his articles on Rocketry Planet about making composite parts and working with carbon fiber. But now it's just, there's unlimited videos and Facebook and Rocketry forum posts, everybody showing exactly how they're doing it. I feel like it has made it so easy, and like all these high performance things that were like cutting edge when we were young are just kind of like standard issue things that people know how to do right out of the box now. It's like something people jump right into. That the high performance stuff is really alluring, and I understand that, but I just really wish somebody would build like a 24-inch Fat Boy or something just dumb. I love it.
Yep.
Somebody other than us, because, like, you know, Taylor's running out of storage space and we're all
maxed
already out of money.
Yeah, big clusters and big rockets and I don't know, just originality, I guess. There's so many, like, I guess, trends, we'll say, just because, I guess, you know, the ease of sharing and the internet and social media. But just really original, like,
goofy
I just
stuff.
remember those, like the build threads on Rocketry forum that I would just be like totally sucked into when I was like a teenager, of just like someone's really, which you'll still run across some of those projects like occasionally, but just something that like, wow, I haven't seen this before, or at least something different.
What was the Astro Cat?
Oh, Nibbles the Astro Cat.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
That was it was like a RC plane clear canopy with a stuffed cat inside the rocket, or the
and he had a camera inside that, like,
it was like a cat facing camera. I should say like stuffed animal cat, not like a stuffed dead cat.
It was a little like spaceman cat. And he made like a little panic button inside. It was just very well done.
LDRS at Gene, was it Gene, right? The giant Beaumark. That's crazy.
Yeah.
With the motors in the pods on the wings, like that's the kind of huge nonsense we're trying to see more of.
Yeah, 2 L1420s air starting 2 K550s in the wings.
That's so nuts. So nuts, dude. Yeah, I mean, that's some big giant mosquitoes were kind of a hot ticket thing for a minute there. Woody Hoberg did one when he was like 16 or 17. Now he's he's an astronaut. So I don't know if there's a more convincing argument for building giant upscales. Build mosquito, become astronaut. I don't think there's any steps in between. Somebody built what's the Freaky Flyer? Somebody built a huge one of those as well.
Well, and a 220 Swift.
Yep. Yeah, just
Dude,
giant
Freaky Flyer was cool.
Yeah, that's why my Rocketry forum name is Upscaler. So speaking of regrets, a lot of the posts I posted on the Rocketry forum in my teenage years could also fall into that. But Arizona Rocketry used to have the website upscalerocketry.com. It's like my favorite picture ever is this 12-inch Estes Alpha sitting in the truck bed with like leaning on the cab. I was like, this is what I need to be doing. I need to be building giant upscales. And look, we're doing it. The problem with those rockets is that they like dismantled them so they would have space to build another one. But we're like, no, we're not going to do that. We like these. Eric Beavers is back. Says, not really a topic, but another question that's been making my teeth itch. On a minimum diameter rocket with a fixed aero pack that the motor tube threads into, the motor case, I assume, would there be a potential issue with the thrust from the motor being applied up the tube at the aero pack rather than the very base of the rocket? Say potentially there's a small gap between them. Oh, I see. Between the motor retainer and the base of the rocket, which was caused by a word who will be unnamed in the motor tube bottoms on the threads. I see. So the case doesn't go all the way in. So there's a gap between the rear closure and the tube.
Well, how sure are you of that bond of your internal motor retainer?
It relies very heavily on how well glued in that Aeropack retainer is. There's a solution though. You can just you cut a little bit off the front of the tube and make yourself like a little, however big that gap is. You just need a piece of tube that size. Slide it over the motor case first, then put it in the rocket. I've definitely never done anything like that before, or had to cut down a couple of 10 minutes before the waiver closed and redo my entire electronics bay because I measured some stuff and cut some things and then changed something without thinking about it. Never could be me, that is for sure. Yeah. If you're really convinced that your Aeropack there is glued in super well, then it should be fine. If you're not, then make yourself a little spacer ring.
It's probably going to be fine either way because, something that people get caught up on sometimes, I think, is like, oh, this motor produces 300 pounds of thrust, but it's not. You're going against gravity, which isn't quite the same as like 300 pounds of thrust against a brick wall.
Right. You hear the term like it's like hitting it with a sledgehammer a lot, but it's really not. It's like putting a sledgehammer against it and pushing it forward. If you have that gap there and there's no retainer up there holding it in place, and it is kind of like hitting it with a sledgehammer when the motor case slides up to it. That will destroy stuff. But you have to kind of think of it. I don't even know what like a good analogy is, but it's not the forces that are in play here aren't as black and white as it seems by saying it's a 300-pound thrust takeoff. So yeah, like Taylor said, it's not like hitting a brick wall. It's like getting thrown really hard, I guess. It's like throwing a baseball 90 miles an hour versus hitting a baseball with a baseball bat and it going 90 miles an hour.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody who's actually an engineer is going to be like, that's not correct at all. But Matt, your thoughts as the resident anti-gravity group engineer?
I didn't hear the whole question, but I'll just smile and nod my head.
Perfect. Matt says that I'm correct. All right. Well, that is all we've got. I'm going to reload this one more time just to see if anybody has popped anything else in here, but it doesn't look like it. So I think that brings us to an end. Does anybody have anything else to add?
No.
Matt, what's your favorite thing to order at Brahms?
Man.
For anyone that was wondering.
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly, okay, here it is. I like to go big on the dairy at Brahms. And so when I get a meal there, now I was always skeptical of their cheeseburgers. I thought, why would a dairy place be good on cheeseburgers? But no, they're just standard. Cheeseburger is great, but what you can do is with the cheeseburger meal, instead of getting it with fries and just like a soda, you can get it with a Greek yogurt and a shake. So I like to double dip that. So
I remember you getting the Greek yogurt. I was like, that seems like an interesting call, but okay.
Yeah,
I'm here
great.
for
it. Lots of protein, lots of calcium, and all that other stuff.
Yeah, of course. My first thought when I go to a fast food place is how much calcium am I intaking with this meal?
That's right. Yeah.
Matt, can we get a commitment out of you to fly your 3-inch Punisher at Cloudburst?
I think that's got to happen.
You heard it here first, folks. When are you going to start the Macho Matt YouTube channel?
No, I'll have like one post and it'll be from Cloudburst or something.
Dude, people will love it. That's one more than Postar's got right now.
It is.
Zing. Yeah, maybe.
I think people would really enjoy it. Even if you just do like basic vlog style videos. Just be yourself. You're gonna have the biggest channel out of any of us.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Matt's about to crack that gold play button status.
Yeah.
Wiping his booty with the silver one. You kidding me? 100,000. All All right. Well, it's with that out of the way, that important information. My name is Braden Carlson. You can find me on YouTube at Rocket Vlogs, which you might be doing right now. Oh yeah, if you're still watching, drop a comment. We're gonna field some questions for Mr. Barnard, so drop something in the comments. If you want to help support the podcast, support the channel, check us out at patreon.com/rocketvlogs. You can follow me on Instagram at BigB1011. Everybody else do their plugs now. I'm still rambling.
My name is Taylor Jesse, and you can find me on YouTube at The Rocket Channel. There has been a couple new videos, and I have one going up hopefully
5,
this
4, 3,
week
2,
before
1.
I leave for California, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
My
On the
name is
Hercules?
Shane.
No, probably not.
No.
Different one.
My name is Shane or Postart. You can find me on YouTube at Postart Propulsions. Hopefully the video will be done soon after I get back from Hawaii, as Braden called it.
And my name is Matthew Myers, Macho Match, and you can find me right here.
We are the Anti-Gravity Group. This is the Anti-Gravity Group podcast, and we will see you guys next time.